Tonight on the Invention Laboratory, we will dive into the process that will allow you to get that invention idea out of your head and onto the paper. Grab your pen and let's get started.
People are looking for fast scores. You know how many people here spent $800 on a course because it was going to happen fast?
Hey, it's Pat here, and in this video I want to share with you 10 lessons I've learned since inventing a physical product.
We're going to talk about perceived ownership. Steve, this is something that we talk about a lot. People that are kind of new to the game, they don't know what the heck we're talking about.
This means starting small without the risk of a big financial investment, but at the same time being ready to scale up big if the opportunity presents itself.
One of the things that really hurt Apple was after I left, John Sculley got a very serious disease. And that disease, I've seen other people get it too. It's the disease of thinking that a really great idea is 90% of the work.
Obsession is the thing that makes heroes.
You know, I've been a creative professional for 15 years now, but I'm no professional packaging designer.
Most people only pay attention to the final product of a successful entrepreneur. They say things like, I can never be like them.
And the problem with that is that there's just a tremendous amount of craftsmanship in between a great idea and a great product.
The Invention Laboratory is a show that takes a deep dive into product development, inventions, and entrepreneurship. After spending over a decade in the industry, it's time to pass on that knowledge to anyone who's ever dreamed of bringing a product to life. Getting your thoughts together is hard enough. Transferring those thoughts to a sheet of paper in an order that doesn't make it sound like you've been sleeping in a room with padded walls is nearly impossible. Have you ever tried to explain a scary dream to a friend the next morning?
Is there any way to describe a nightmare to be scary? I had a scary dream last night. Okay, tell me about it. I was running through this pool of marshmallows in my flip-flops, right? Then the manager came running out of nowhere, and he starts going... There's only 18 seconds to eject before the bowling alley closed. And Tom, you were there, but you didn't look like Tom, and that was freaking me out.
Yeah, it's just like that, but don't worry, you're not alone. Over the years, I've received submissions from inventors that were either 8 words or paragraphs that played out just like that last clip. I used to have a colleague that would say, inventors are notoriously bad communicators. I understood what he meant, but the wording wasn't quite right. The statement makes it sound as if inventors aren't capable of conveying their thoughts. On the short submissions, the real issue 9 times out of 10 was confidentiality. On that 10th submission, it was usually someone submitting a bogus idea just to see if I would work on anything and everything. No trust had been established, and people just don't want their ideas taken advantage of, and that's understandable. As for the lengthy submissions, 50% of them just didn't want to leave anything out, so they typed or wrote until they couldn't think of anything else. The others were usually clients that had been working on their idea for years, and the last consultant or attorney or company failed at some crucial step in the process, in their opinion, and they don't want to work with another person who can't deliver in that area of expertise. Explaining your idea to anyone is a project in itself, but explaining it to a complete stranger, especially one who's a professional in the field that you'd love to be working in, is terrifying. You want them to view you as an equal despite the fact that you need their help. Believe it or not, I've actually had folks give up on pursuing their idea because of this issue alone. Their ego just wouldn't let them live in a childlike role in the professional relationship. I've also experienced the opposite effect. Clients who were industry professionals, experts on biochemical engineering, oncologists, software analysts, they just couldn't see the value in speaking with anyone who knew less about their body of work than they did, even if it meant they no longer had access to the company's resources or relationships or expertise in product development in general. Now, as you begin to unleash your vision by way of a verbal vortex, understand that there is absolutely room for creative chaos. There is a time for you just to write or type until your fingers hurt. That iconic scene from the movies of a writer crumpling up a paper and chucking it into an overflowing bin full of partially started beginnings is now a reality for you. The voice memo function on your cell phone is also another tool that can be used to collect your thoughts. It's a little easier to manage and it'll save you on the paper and ink. But for those of you that can't bear to start a project without a plan, I understand and I can relate wholeheartedly. I personally thrive when I have a checklist or instructions or at the very least an outline. So if you reside in that camp like I do, now's the time to grab the pen and piece of paper. I'm now going to go over an outline, something that'll give you a place to collect your thoughts and start putting your ducks in a row. So it's going to be broken up into a few sections. So we're going to start with section A, and you're going to answer these following questions. Number 1, why am I pursuing this invention? If you need more context on that question, dive into my previous podcast, 5 things you should ask yourself before becoming an inventor in 2019. By now, if you've been following along, you should have a good base answer, and don't worry, it will change, and that's okay. Question number 2, who will benefit from my invention? Try to cover not only your future customers, but your family as a result of your new endeavor. Even though money can't be your why alone, it's important to understand how the success of your project would affect the life of you and also those closest to you. It's a little easier to push through the difficult days when you have a clear vision of what you're shooting for. Question number 3, what problem or problems can I solve with my invention? This will provide a little clarity on the project, and it also provides a little leeway during the design process because you can solve the same problem in many different ways. Question number 4, what type of creator do you want to be? A licensee, a business owner, or an entrepreneur? Now there's pros and cons to all of these, and we can cover those at a later date, but I want to give you some basic running knowledge now so you can make this decision and then adjust it as you learn more. Licensee. This type of creator is taking a hands-off approach after the idea's birth. It's the most expensive route because you're hiring a company, attorney, or consultant to do everything for you. Construct presentation materials, file protections, licensing negotiations, research, everything. At the conclusion of this method, you simply want to receive a check for the use of your product. Business owner. This is a hybrid approach. It's a hands-on, hands-off approach in which you intend to attempt to secure a license agreement, but you also intend to distribute and sell the product under your personal brand from a facility that you control and operate. You intend to receive royalties from the license agreement as well as the profit from your own efforts. You plan to build the product and hire any third-party resource that you're not capable of or willing to generate. Entrepreneur. The buck stops with you. This is the hands-on approach. You plan to oversee every single step of the process from concept to completion. You will manufacture, sell, distribute, and maintain every aspect of your business. That doesn't mean that you won't have or hire help. This simply means that every phase will be a collaborative effort between you and each company, attorney, and consultant involved in the project. Only you can determine the best avenue, and sometimes you'll pursue more than one approach until you determine what's right for you and your product. Section B, explain your invention. Answering those first 4 questions will funnel your thought process. Because you've already covered the goals, who the beneficiaries are, and the problem you wish to solve, all that remains are the tangibles. The size of the product, the color, the shape, its functionality, what materials you use, you get the picture. Now, after your hand regains feeling and you've taken a break, read everything that you just wrote aloud. Contemplate how it makes you feel. Scratch out and erase anything that feels out of place or manages to overcomplicate your solution to the original problem. Section C, sketch it out. Grab a few sheets of graph paper or printer paper and try your best to bring this to life. There's no right or wrong way that you can do this, and you can do it as many times as you need to. Take your time. For some of you, this is going to be the easy part. For everyone else, your heart rate probably picked up a bit and your mind is going 1,000 miles a minute. Relax. This is your project, and no one will ever be able to display the intricacies better than you at this early stage in the project. Your future customers will never see this version of it. Simplicity is key. The more features you add, the more work is involved, and the more expense you will incur. After you've completed these steps, place all of that material into a manila envelope and put it in a drawer for 7 days. Don't cheat. Give it the full 7 days. After those 7 days, read the entire brief aloud. If you still feel good about it, great, you're almost done. If adjustments need to be made, you'll notice them right away because you have fresh eyes on this. You'll even pick up on misspellings and different quotations and places that should have had punctuation that are clearly missing. So definitely do that. Now, once you're happy with that, scan the drawing of the photo onto your computer, type up the invention brief, and then print it out as a book report. Make it as professional as you possibly can. I've even had clients mail in USB drives along with their brief just to make sure that the backup was there. Now that you're done, the important question: why did I have you do this? The answer is twofold. One area is for you, and the other is for your future colleagues, coworkers, freelancers, legal counsel, etc. Let's start with you, though. One of the biggest struggles that I had as a new entrepreneur was perfecting my elevator pitch. People would ask what I did for a living, and for years I defaulted to whatever the last position was that I held and gave a long-winded discussion about how I got to where I am today. It was exhausting, especially when no one knew what I was working on or they didn't work in the same field. I would even cancel plans with friends and family because I was so drained by the well-meaning scrutiny. After you clearly define your goals, work your way through the chaos, and you map out your next move, it'll be much easier for you just to answer, I'm an inventor, I'm a product developer, or if you're really brave, I'm an entrepreneur. The second area is meant to give you a leg up and provide you with an advantage when you're hiring people or assembling a team or working with professionals in your new field. Remember that 8-word submission we spoke about earlier? The one thing I didn't cover is the reaction of most product managers who get those types of submissions. If you've been in the industry for a while and you're a product manager, those 8-word submissions mean more work. Yes, I know that's what you pay them for, but it's easier for them to have a bad day and skip past your project and move on to someone who is more serious about their idea. I know, it's not fair, but I can tell you that it definitely happens. Now, the opposite occurs when thorough and complete submissions are received. The company or attorney or consultant will be excited to work with you. They'll be more attentive with updates during the process, and I've even witnessed discounts being issued on services rendered for submitting that type of detail and information. Do yourself this favor before you start to shop for professional help in the industry. It will make your life so much easier. That's it for tonight. I hope this gives you the courage to finally get it all down on paper. We'll see you next time.